welcome to my channel. Well, what is blade wrap? My name is Blade, and that's the way I was made. No, that's not. It's not that kind of blade wrap. What blade wrap is, this is a very minor example of it. See it? Do you see that? You can probably see it when the light reflects. See that right there? How does this occur? Well, the kick, which is right here, is what sets the height of the blade when it's down here in the bottom. And if it's ground too low, because they're wanting to get the tip down here, they're thinking, man, this tip's sitting a little proud, let me grind it. It's down there now. Well, the problem is this pin right here. This pin right here, the corresponding metal, it's kind of hard to see, is raised up slightly. And on this particular knife, when this blade lands down in the bottom well here, you can see it's high enough it should clear, you know, anything from hitting there. You know, if you were to put this on a flat surface and go straight up, you'd never touch the edge. The problem is, it doesn't stay straight down here. When it comes up to this pin right here, there's always a little hump, and sometimes that hump is pretty high. And so when you close the blade like this, clack, it hits here instead of the kick. Alright, now how would you fix this? Well, I'll tell you a way most people fix it. They sharpen the blade. And in this case, you're really not going to have to sharpen too much. But if you look at the blade, to get this blade sharp, you're going to have to take off metal all the way across here to the tip and all the way back here to straighten it out. So if you like taking off metal, if it's a small one like this, it's not bad. But I've seen them half moon it, you know, just really come bad. All right, here's a temporary fix that some people do. You can take some epoxy, a little bit of epoxy, put it in there and make a little ledge. Now the problem is that epoxy is not going to last forever. And when you do it, you don't want to raise the tip up too high. You don't want to have a proud tip like this, because you're gonna catch your finger. But if you look at this one, this is a good candidate, because we can raise it up this much, and that's more than what's hitting. You know, that's what you're trying to clear. All right, so these two methods right here are what I consider okay, depending on how bad it is. But what I would say the best method to use is to get yourself a toothpick. You know, I'm not talking about a wooden toothpick, because they're not strong enough, but you get yourself a toothpick knife. You get a piece of sandpaper. Now, another alternative to using a toothpick knife is to use a popsicle stick. You get some sandpaper and you sand that down right there. You're not going to sand it so far that you expose the pin. If you look at how much you've got to do, it's very little sanding required. Now, if you sand this right now and you got it sanded down a little bit, this wrap would still be here, you know, because it's already happened. So you're already going to have to sharpen this blade, you know, to get that dull spot out. If you were really worried about removing metal, you could try to just shave the edges of that dent, you know. But anyway, so and if you'll see, a lot of people that have older traditional knives or expensive ones, they never do this because they don't want that to happen. They'll ease it down. All right, because this is an inexpensive knife. I like hearing the walk and talk, man. I like. This is my thought. This is my belief on this. Knives should never get this way out of the factory. They should always test it, just like this. Let it go under its own power. You don't push it extra or whatever, but whenever that spring takes over, if you get blade wrap, that knife's not ready. You need to fix it, you know. And they probably got end mill pieces that they can get down there that would just take that off. You know, it'd just be a simple thing. They just put it in a machine and it would knock it off. But, you know, because these are inexpensive knives, they don't do that. So that's 3 different ways to fix it. And it's tedious, you know, doing this way. I'd recommend some high grit, not 3000. You don't want to polish it or anything, you know. Probably stuff like this, 120. You know, you want to get in there and you want to take metal off, and you're not worried about, if it also depends on how you put the sandpaper on the stick. You know, if you have it way up, it's going to sand the side. You just basically want it to be on the bottom edge of it. I'm sorry I don't have a popsicle stick, and I'm not going to do this right now, but I have done it before. But you get the idea. This is where you want to take metal off, because it's not super critical. Your blade, your mainspring isn't necessarily going to snap because you weakened that or everything. Like I said, it doesn't require a lot of metal to be taken off. But when you get that, most people will just sharpen this right off and say, huh. And it won't come back usually because you've gotten below the level, you know, of that. But I would recommend try sanding that spring down first and see how that works for you. And if that works all right, then you're still going to have to sharpen this, you know. But it should never happen again after that. Because like I said, sometimes that dent is way the hell down there. I mean, it leaves a nice half moon. And I've done this before. I've sharpened it and said, all right, it's fixed. Bam! And it comes right back. That's when I realized, hey, because the first time I saw this, I didn't know what was causing it. I thought that the blades were being stored loose somewhere and something had bumped into it. A metal, you know, metal rod or something like that. But then I just started watching, all right, what does this line up with? It's usually up by the nail neck. And then if you look down there, you can see there's a raised portion on the mainspring down there. Oops, earthquake. And that raised portion corresponds with this pin. And if you line up your blade wrap with that pin, look where it lands. Pow! So there you go. There's 3 different ways to fix this that I know of. Now, if you're any good at spot welding, or you had something like that, the ultimate way would be just to put a little tack weld right there and file that metal down. You could put something in the base down here wherever this kick lands, you know, like a piece of cotton or a piece of cardboard. As long as you raise this kick up, but you're not raising it so high that you're getting a proud tip. You could go about that high, and look how much more I've got, see? And that means that kick was ground too much. Whoever did this got carried away with grinding the kick, and these are made by hand, built by hand and everything. You can return them, you know. You can go through all that to return it. This is that tortoise shell. See, they have this pattern. They have, I think it's an overlay, like a plastic, you know, like a line. There's just a little quick thing on, see, even 440B, you'll get a wrap. What's your wrap? What's your wrap against 440B? I'm a blade. This is the way I was made. Somebody messed me up, and when I find them, I'm going to mess them up. Yeah, see, that's not very good. Blade wrap. See, blade wrap is bad. Blade wrap is bad, either from the knife or from me. I could probably do a better blade wrap if I put my mind into it, but just being silly. So there you go. I hope you found that helpful. Now when you'll know what I call blade wrap, or sometimes I call this pin wrap because it's basically the blade wrapping up against a pin. But that's how it happens. And how you fix it is basically to sharpen it or build up your kick, not too far, or file down there. Again, not too far. You're not going to have to take a lot off, just a little Really, if you could just find exactly in the center, that's all you got to take off. It's just that, make yourself a little groove down there for the blade to land in, rest in. There you go. So I was shaving down a popsicle stick, and it was taking too long, and it was being a pain in the butt, so I just took an old pick. You can take a flat piece of metal. I was going to use the other end of my Dremel tool, tightener thing, but anything that will make it narrow enough to fit down into the slot, right? So, and you want something to hold it in there, so I took some super glue and I super glued it on there. All right, now we got our little tool, right? It goes in there, and we just go back and forth on that pin. The reason why I like this method is you're not going to see it unless you open up. You're not going to see any scratches or anything. See how that part right there is showing? That's what we're working on. We're going to keep doing this because I've already got the blade sharpened again, pretty much. I mean, there's still a little bit of a wrap there. But if this works, when I snap that thing closed, it won't wrap. Now the problem is, see, the glue will come off. It's hard to keep this thing in there and go back and forth with it. All right, I didn't want to leave you with no success, so I basically, I'd say I took probably 2 years worth of grinding to do this. 2 years of normal amount of grinding that you would be doing. It's still there, see? Just a little bit though. But I'm going to have to keep grinding. Just if I'm going to do the grinding method, I'm just going to have to keep grinding until it doesn't do that. Or ease it down, you know? So that's why I say, of all the, I don't mind blade centering. I don't mind gaps or and stuff over here, because none of those affect the edge, the cutting edge. But pin wrap does. Pin wrap affects the cutting edge. And to me, this is like the cardinal sin, the worst one that can be done to a traditional knife is to have that happen. And it's simply because somebody didn't put it together right. Built by hand. You didn't build this one properly, all right? You may have built 10,000 before that properly, but you didn't do this one correctly. And you just happen to get a customer like me who finds that highly annoying. Sorry, I keep trying to report success, but I keep going back to the bench grinder and thinking, why am I doing this? Why do I keep doing this? Because I want to fix it, Somebody that tells you all you got to do is sharpen it doesn't tell you you're going to be sitting there at that grinder for a while, man, even on a minor one. It's going to take you a while to get it to where you can just let this go like this and not have a reflection show back up at you on the edge. Like I said, it's very minor now. It's getting wider. You can see that I've got to take off quite a bit more metal. All right, let's do a wrap-up. We identified the cause of pin wrap. We looked at 3 possible ways to fix that. And in the end, I'm going to suggest a 4th thing, and that is, this is a manufacturing defect. It's obvious that it's nothing that you did. If you get a knife and you can't do this to it, and it's a traditional knife, without getting that knife is defective. Return it. I would recommend returning them. Don't put up with this, because none of the methods that I've gone through, putting something here on raising the kick, okay, then you've got to be an engineer and figure out, wow, I can only go this far. It's a temporary method, putting something down there. Sharpening it, you're going to remove years worth of normal blade use, normal blade sharpening. Look at the shape of this blade. Look how much I've had to drop it back just to get it to not hit. So I'm still keeping this knife, as an example, because anytime anybody says, well, I got pin wrap, what should I do? Send the knife back. It's like in that Young Frankenstein. Put the candle back. Yeah, send the knife back, because it's going to annoy you. I mean, it annoys me. You know, you've got a knife perfectly sharp, and then you make the mistake of closing it. Oh my God, you didn't baby the knife. Oh, you let it land. And then what do you got to deal with? Now you got a dull section. It's only this long of a knife, really, that cuts, or this long. But you can't really count on it for here. Yeah, it's just annoying. Sorry. So that's my recommendation. Don't do any of the stuff that I did here. Just fill out the return form and send that thing back. Anyways, thank you for putting up with all this. And I'm sorry I didn't get a really successful conclusion, because I like to fix things when I run into a problem. But this is just too much of a pain in the butt to fix, really. For the amount of stuff that you've got to do to try to fix this, it's just not worth it.